Yeah. During that summer, the boys took up baseball practice again, and Mother was invited to umpire in place of Dr. Harriet when she was busy elsewhere. And later Mother told me that she was having the happiest summer she had known since those days in Northfield. Nothing revealed Mother's fixed attention to get along with her daughter-in-law so clearly as the way she accepted Gertrude's name for her, Mother Mary. To Puritan ears it was somewhat disturbing at first, but Mother was determined not to hurt Gertrude's feelings, and she grew to cherish the name. In later years, when Gertrude spoke and wrote to her simply as Mother, she would sign her letters Mother Mary. On Sunday the Cape was swept by a chill northeaster. I had put in a good part of the day going over some papers upstairs in my room. The afternoon was well advanced toward dusk when I finished. The house seemed unusually quiet. Yawning, I went downstairs to see what was what. Halfway down the flight, I stopped. A log fire was blazing in the living room, and before the fire, Gertrude sat cross-legged on the floor. Dick and David sprawled beside her. In a chair at one side of the hearth, under the reading lamp, was Mother, book in hand. Her voice floated up to me in words that took me back about 30 years. Now this is the story of a bad boy. Well, not such a very bad, but a pretty bad boy, as I ought to know, for I am, or rather I was that boy myself. I tiptoed in. Gertrude smiled, and the boys made room for me to drop down beside the tree in front of the fire. Mother alone paid no heed to my appearance there, except, or did I fancy it, that a smile played with unusual tenderness about her moving lips. With a fluency born of long practice, she continued the timeless tale of Pest's bad boy. I was well aware that Mother had not opened the volume without delivering a little introductory talk to let the boys know that the bad boy and their own great-grandfather Aldrich had been cousins, and that she had crowned this triumphantly with an announcement that on his mother's side the bad boy was a Pickering. Watching my sons being aware of this part of their heritage, I thought how strange it was that they owed their enlightenment not to me, but to the Englishwoman I had brought into the family. It was she, first regarded with a reserve bordering on distrust as coming from an alien world, who had welded that quiet, close group before the fire and brought me to sit with her and my son at my mother's feet. The relationship between the two Mrs. Aldriches deepened during the summer of 1943. Mother spent August with Gertrude at the Berrys. I went up to join them whenever I could get leave. When Gertrude was at home and not working in the garden or the bog, she and Mother knitted steadily. Aware that Gertrude needed more rest than she seemed willing to take, Mother, at a hint from me, proposed to read aloud to her for several hours every afternoon. Gertrude accepted the offer with alacrity. She loved being read to, and I found that to be read to, and I had found this was sometimes the only way to get Gertrude to relax. Mother, like so many of her generation, was an experienced and adept reader. The summer at the Berrys, she read to Gertrude from the books which had meant much to her all her life, Browning, Wordsworth, and the New England writers, whose sunset glory had illumined her own girlhood. One of two of them she had known. She spoke of meeting Mr. Emerson at a literary tea, and among her treasured books was a volume of Longfellow's poetry given her by Mrs. Dana, the Edith with golden hair of the children's hour. As a young matron in Boston, Mother had belonged to a Browning circle whose members read, explored, and discussed the meaning of Robert Browning's often difficult verse. It was inevitable, therefore, that she should read some of his shorter poems to Gertrude. Oh, to be in England, now that April's there, prospect and my star. And to the end of her days, Gertrude kept a copy of Browning close at hand. Contrary to popular belief, Gertrude was not by nature a gay, frivolous butterfly reveling in the delights of cafe society. Actually, Gertrude was happiest in a small, intimate circle among young people. Otherwise, she needed a stage, a part to interpret, and above all, a goal to achieve. Understand, it does not seem to work well, unfortunately. Now let's try and see if it works well with the volume all the way up. Oh, how are you all out there, you folks? Fine, we've just tested the tape recorder. Let's see if it records. Something must be wrong. To find out how the recorder plays back. To play the best volume to the most pleasing reproduction. We'll see if it works. Stop. Shall I begin now? All right, let's do that. Who or what is the criminal, especially in juvenile crime? The law enforcement agencies and the sociologists of the United States are urgently trying to find out. J. Edgar Hoover has once again tried to rouse the American people with phrases like a massive avalanche of crime, a broad indictment of the American people, wholesale disrespect for law. This newspaper asked many of its correspondents around the nation to report the facts in their areas and inform local reactions to the Hoover statement. Their dispatches starting on page 1 of this edition showed a common concern with very high and often sharply rising crime rates, especially among the young. They differ widely in local analysis of what is the cause and what the cure. Very properly, there are many avenues of action and on many levels. We would like to offer our conviction on this point. The real criminal is the impulse of evil in the human mind. It is the often hidden destructive force in human thought which presents itself to everyone at one time or another, in one form or another, to be accepted or rejected. It is no discredit to the individual that he has to face such a criminal force, for this is a part of mortal existence. It is how he handles this form of mental aggression against his higher self that distinguishes him. If a blindly negative impulse is the criminal, it can only be overcome by the force of good, by persistent love for others, by applied intelligence, by building defenses that men call character. The battleground is that of thought. Every individual, with the help of his family and his deepest convictions, has to take a stand upon it and win his way through. If this is understood without fear and with the knowledge of what the power of good can accomplish, Americans will find a fresh approach to the problem of crime and of the sturdy and self-reliant growth of young people.